They were horrific things that he did. But Jeffrey Dahmer was a very complex person.
What triggered it all?
Cannibalism is a common ecological interaction in the animal kingdom. But when it comes to human beings, the rare case of a human being eating the flesh of another human is a mystery to most psychologists and psychiatric professionals. Psychologists have researched cannibalism over the years, looking into the trend that cannibals have a strong amount of insecurity and find it extremely difficult to have a normal relationship. Dahmer perfectly fit the mold of the discoveries of this research, first displaying his abnormal behavior stemming from his childhood. Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, is an infamous serial killer who had an original way to remember appearance and physical beauty. His philosophy became eating the meat of his victims' bodies after they were murdered and sexually abused by him, because he wanted them to be a vital part of him internally and keep them within his body forever. Cannibals are often pictured by society as someone into the raw meat of their victims of a serial killer like Hannibal. Dahmer, however, prepared his meat as it was a raw slab of London broil purchased from the store. Cannibals have been known to compare the taste and consistency of the human body to beef and pork, allowing the cannibal to have multiple creative touch when preparing their meals. Dahmer went into detail about his step-by-step process when in the kitchen. He said he would tenderize the meat with a tenderizer and serve the steak with salt, pepper, and A1 sauce. He did make it clear to the jury he would typically eat like a normal human being and only ate human when he was in the mood for it. Before Dahmer began his mind frame of his sadistic necessity in murdering his 17 victims, observants, including teachers, noticed he was different from the other people around him. He came across as lonely and ashamed, most likely because of his sexual orientation. Since his youth, he had intensive bonding issues. Ingesting his victims would mean to Dahmer that they would never leave him. Ingesting the murdered also allowed him, in his mind, to keep them under his complete control. He would never have to consider their wishes and could keep them there as long as he wanted. They would continue to live with him eternally, which resulted in a calming feeling within him, until he was ready to go back on the hunt for his next victim. Before Dahmer decided it was the right time to eat his victims, he initially tried to turn them into sex zombies by performing lobotomies. Once he realized he was unsuccessful with his operations, he would ultimately take their lives to save them from further anguish. Once the pulse left the victim's body, he would take the muscles from the bone and either cook or refrigerate them before discarding the remaining evidence of the body. One psychologist who diagnosed Dahmer as a necrophiliac stated, "He has a mental disease. That is what drives his behavior." Another psychologist stated that Dahmer's crimes were organized, premeditated, and he chose his victims carefully. He was thoughtful when it came to storing body parts in his refrigerator, as he planned to eat them later. Over half of his victims were partially or fully eaten by the time his crime-infested lifestyle came to an abrupt closing due to his arrest. Throughout his murdering spree, his cannibalism grew out of his curiosity and desire to keep those people with him forever. His continuous consumption was not because of a cruel evil buried deep inside of him, but a pure symbol to display his insecurities and loneliness. Jeffrey Dahmer admitted that he knew his actions were wrong, so the question became whether or not he was able to control himself. He told the court, "I wanted to find out just what it was that caused me to be so bad and evil. The doctors have told me about my sickness, and now I have some peace." When police searched Dahmer's apartment, they found remains of his victims throughout his bedroom, human skulls, a barrel of unidentifiable chemicals, and a human heart he was sure to be saving for a rainy day. Home is where the heart is, indeed. And this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to our channel and check out the next video in front of you. See you there.